What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be fooling around with kind of a fascinating little title. I think it suffers from not being explained well enough and generally being a little bit esoteric. And I also think that there's probably a little bit of balancing that needs to run through this game. However, this is the demo on the Steam Next Fest for a title called Technotopia, which is sort of like an Art Deco build-your-own Rapture style game. So you know how in Bioshock, Andrew Ryan was trying to create his own utopia under the sea? This game, you're trying to do the exact same thing. You're trying to make a brass and hardwood sort of utopia that everyone can live in. And it's an interesting little game that's kind of like the video game equivalent of an earworm. It's very addictive. I bounced off this game 2 or 3 times over the course of the week, and I'm kind of recording it before I go out for the weekend to finish up my move. But I decided to make a video on it because I think there's enough here that the game is at least interesting, and that's kind of like what the Nerd Castle is all about. So if after watching this you wanted to get the game for yourself, I got a link for you down below in the description. You can check that out there. On top of that, you can also take a look at the links down there to find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream. It's been kind of quiet lately over there, so you guys can slide on through and interact with me and all that kind of fun stuff. But as I was saying, Technotopia is a build-your-own Rapture-style Art Deco game where you're building buildings and districts in order to try to keep this Reigns-style gameplay under control. If you've never played Reigns before, Reigns is a card game where you flip over cards and there's a series of decisions that you make. And everything that you do makes a meter go up and makes a meter go down. And the entire game is effectively balancing spinning plates on sticks. This game is identical to that premise. You will build buildings. Those buildings will give you different bonuses to various factions that live inside the city. As you get those factions satisfied, they will then give you requests, and you have to kind of be careful in this game because everything that you do, these numbers right here, we have the government, we have the elites, we have the business, and we have the public faction. If these numbers go up, that's a good thing, but every single time you build a building, the timeline goes up. There's events on the timeline that will make each of these people more difficult to maintain as you go forward. On top of that, it's also got a power struggle going on where these factions will level up if you favor them too much, and when they level you up, they get more bonuses for doing things, but other people get more malices for doing things because they're impressing upon you the things that they want. So if you favor labor too much, you'll end up in sort of this situation where the people are dictating every single thing that happens and you can't get business done and people aren't allowed to be successful and the government can't run because they just kind of eliminate anything that you try to do. If you favor the elites too much, you end up with sort of like this oligarchy where you can't do anything without the elites kind of telling you what you need to do. And it's sort of an interesting title in that regard. And there's some nuance to it as well. And so I know this is a little bit sort of informative heavy on the front, but I spent a lot of time figuring out all the things that this game doesn't tell you, and you need to know those things in order to play it effectively. So from there, these little boxes that you see on the side, these little Tetris shapes, you can build any group of buildings into these shapes, and it will create a super complex, basically, that'll have a different graphic and do a different thing. So let's say that I take these factories right here. Every time I build a factory, we get public faction influence, right? And so I can take, we've got shopping up here, so we kind of want to avoid going that way. Let's put down a store first. We'll put down a store right there. We just got 25 business faction. Energy corporations have announced the development of highly efficient components for power plants. The first devices are introduced into production very soon. We got a positive event right there, so our weekly expenses for the business faction just went down. But we got 25 of the business resources for placing that building right there, and we can only play things along cardinal directions that are being placed on this grid. But were we to, let's say, make a T block over here where I put a store right there, and a store right there, and a store right there. Actually, let's keep it simple. We've already got a store right here. So let's put a store right here and a store right here. That would create a housing complex that is full of stores, basically, and it would benefit the public faction because if you build anything in squares, they get an additive bonus. If we build anything in a long line, business gets a bonus no matter what buildings you used in order to create that line, so on and so forth on down the way. And the entire game is spinning plates and trying to make sure the city stays up and running without falling apart or one faction gaining too much influence. We got a lot of factories in our starting buildings. This game does have sort of like a deck builder aspect to it. I don't think the game gives you enough ways to control though. Like it needs a way to discard your hand and get new cards. It needs a way to like replace cards and move things around. As of right now, the game feels like to me it's entirely too RNG based. because based on these random events that you're going to get, things go in weird directions that you can't predict. And sometimes you just want to throw out your hands. Sometimes you want to take a look at your draw pile and see what you have going on. None of those options thus far after a couple hours of playing the game are available, and I think they are going to need to be available in order to relinquish control of the game from pure RNG on over to player agency. As of right now, your agency is mostly just doing the best you can with what you have in hand, but I would like to see a little bit more control there. I have to play these factories. I don't want to play these factories, but I have to. So let's try to make these factories into a, I guess, elbow right here to benefit the elite class. We've got another event up. The crime reports are not good. It's unsafe to walk the streets at night. We can do street lighting, security cameras, or we can organize night patrols. It's not going to tell you the outcome to any of these events right here. I also think it should tell you the outcome of the events because you are supposed to be an all-powerful AI in this game that's sort of tuning your city building abilities, and it should be able to give you some kind of prediction over here. It doesn't have to tell you the exact effect, but mousing over these should be like plus something, minus something, but you don't know exactly how bad it's going to be so that you can make educated decisions. And I think that that agency and sort of that informativeness is the thing that's missing from the game right now. You kind of have to puzzle through and memorize the results of these events, which is ultimately kind of unsatisfying, I guess. I guess we'll equip street lighting. So it made our government more expensive to run week by week. It made the public more difficult to run week by week, and the criminals' power went up by 1. So that was an all-around fail. So we know that we never want to equip street lighting in the future if we get that event again. But we did get some buildings out of it, which might lead to interesting consequences. I am going to do exactly what I said over here. Actually, I'm not going to do exactly what I said over here. I'm going to place stores right there, and then I'd like to get some more government power right there because the number is going down. Baroness Krause organizes a visit to the famous Technotopia Theater. The performances will take place in the upper town for a week. So apparently elites are more expensive week by week now, and so we're going to have to work on that as well. The good news is we got some skyscrapers over here, so we should be able to fix that, I think. Especially if we can make like a little elbow of skyscrapers right here. So we'll put the last skyscraper right there, and that'll give us a double bang-up bonus. We'll probably get a lot of points towards elite, which will buy us a little bit of time. Government. We do need to work on government, and we did just get a couple of ministries out. So what I'd like to do here is I would like to go away. I don't need my synopsis. We'll drop that right there, and we'll try to make a T block right here so that we get a double whammy on ministries. We've got a crime district. Reduce business and public expenses by 10. I mean, public expenses are getting a little bit expensive. I could drop this guy in right here. I don't know if I'll be able to complete it anytime soon. When you play these buildings that modify the economy that's playing around, you've got to have them completely and totally surrounded by city in order for them to function, and that's what that big number is right there. It's wanting me to fill in these last 2 blocks to make this thing work. We got our ministry right there, so there's our double whammy. We got 70 resources for the government, which is great. Riots are growing in the lower city. People are smashing store windows and breaking into houses. We need to act. Okay, let's go ahead and put everyone in jail. It's difficult to distinguish between the rights and wrongs and chaos. Innocent people are in prison too. Business expenses got worse. Government expenses got better. Public expenses got worse. And government power went up to 1. Now, you may have noticed there's these little icons all over the place. These are storyline snippets that's letting you know what's going on in this city. As different factions get weaker or stronger, they'll get these little pop-ups. If you build a building on top of one of these pop-ups or adjacent to one of these pop-ups, you will get a quest. Quests typically require you to place a certain amount of buildings in like a certain shape, but if you do that, you get a fat influx of bonuses to one of your factions. You never quite know what you're going to get. These glowing cubes right here, these are upgrades. They allow you to get more refined cards and things that are better for what you're trying to do. We've got a double factory right there. I'm going to build that into a square right here so that takes us up for, that basically paid for our entire week's upkeep for the public faction, so that's okay. A famous art critic announced a fine art contest among the common people. The winners will get their patronage investment and promotional assistance. Okay, so elites are costing 10 bucks more now. We need to do something that focuses on elites. The good news is I have an elbow right here that I can do, and that basically paid for them for a week. We actually only have like a minus 20 for the week, so that'll be okay. Parks, you want to use these to kind of like fill in space. It says that everybody gets a 20 right here, but I haven't noticed it. It seems like it's only giving business 20 right here. Oh no, it gave everything 20. Never mind. I guess I just eyeballed it wrong, but we can assemble these into districts to benefit other factions as well, if that's what we want to do. We're actually pretty even right now on the things that we need to accomplish. So I don't really have an opinion about what we play next. I don't really care. You can central mouse click. Your middle mouse click rotates buildings, by the way. One of my critiques about the game is that you can't rotate buildings, but like, there's no control settings in here, so I was kind of just pushing keys until I found the one that worked. What does this guy do? Shopping mall is going to lower elite and business expenses by 10. That would be helpful so that I can focus on factories. It sort of blocks off that park right there, but I'm okay with it. Let's put it right there, and this guy only needs 2 more things in order to complete his tasks. A new week has started. We can place 2 buildings, then we get an event. Another thing that I don't like, you can't click on the buildings to get a pop-up to let you know what they do after they've been placed. That's a basic level quality of life that needs to be in there. And so that's what I mean, is like, this feels like a really smart, really intelligent game about planning things out and trying to figure out where you want to slot things and also dealing with events, and it's all packaged up in a very nice aesthetic. But there's a lot of babies thrown out with the bathwater right now. Since this is only a Steam Next Fest demo, I'm going to chalk that up to the game being early on in its development, but those are fundamentally things that are going to need to change as time goes along in order for the game to hold water long term, I think. But it is entertaining me, sort of in a way that Slipways did. That's another. I'm not a big fan of sort of puzzly type games unless they've got like other accompaniment in there. And I think the dystopian nature of this game is kind of working, where no matter what you do, everything slips into dystopia somehow. And so I think that's what keeps me going. And I also like the thoughtful placement of buildings, and also trying to figure out exactly like, okay, should I make an elbow right now? Should I make a straight line right now? Like, what is my next objective that I'm trying to pull off? We could do a square right here, or we could do an elbow. I think I'm going to do an elbow so that we get a little bit of resources to offset our elite costs, which are getting very, very high. Baroness Kraus organizes another... Oh, yeah, there's not a lot of events either. They're going to need to, like, get a lot more events for the game to, I think, hold water long-term as well. Okay, so we've got that on in there. Public faction is kind of hurting right now, but we've got an easy win for the public faction right here, I think. And that'll also give us business faction, because we'll unlock that building right there for free. And then what we can do is let's make this factory into an elbow that kisses both of those right there, because now we have 3 more weeks on every faction, which is a really good spot to be in. Shopkeepers are complaining about hooligans. They're asking for a monthly fee. Dissenters are beaten and their store windows are smashed. Okay, let's fund the police. So our business expenses went up. Our business expenses are going to go down to 80 a week. Our government expenses are going to go up by 20 a week. It's kind of counterintuitive with the plus and the minuses. Once you wrap your brain around it, it's okay. It makes sense. But it takes a minute. At least it did for me. It took like 1 or 2 runs to get used to what I was reading over here. And we finally neutralized the criminals. Of all the factions you want to be in control, the criminals, you don't want them to be in control. As you've seen, all of the events are really bad when the criminals are in control of town. And so we've wrested control away from criminal power, and we've given it to the local municipal government. Which, since I'm technically an AI that functions on behalf of the government, in a way I am the government, that sort of works out. We have 1 extra. If you notice right here, when we make these elbows, it makes sort of like these little helicopter pads. They're going to need to animate this more, I think. I would like it if the helicopters took off and they flew to other spots on the map that have helicopter ports, or if they don't do that, they would fly up and they would sort of take your town center and fly around it with little spotlights and whatnot. There's little visual things, I think, that would make this game pop quite a bit more as well when it comes to sort of rewarding you visually for the things that you're building. So right here, we make a T elbow, or we make a T block. We have the Zeppelin. It'd be cool if the Zeppelin flew in between other Zeppelin docks, or it flew over to this central dock over here and flew back. and if there was other docks around, just give it a little bit of life, you know what I mean? Make the place feel alive. They've got the beginnings of some of these things going on with the way that the fountains trickle, I guess, and the way that like these little Model Ts are driving around and whatnot, but it needs more. It needs more of that. We're in a pretty good spot right now. We're not in a bad place. Like, inevitably, you're going to lose in this game because at the end of the day, it's a roguelite. Like, you're going to lose, and the amount of points that you generated for these factions over the course of their run, each faction levels up, and they give you new cards that benefit their faction. They give you new utilities and things like that that make life easier. I just need to plug a block right here to get my bonus right there. And that looks like that was public housing, so it lowered our public costs, so that's good. We need 2 more buildings over here. I'll probably go with a skyscraper. And we'll probably try to do like a straight line, I guess. Right there to get that done, possibly. I've got a good spot for a ministry right here. And that'll bring that online, which I think lowered our elite costs by 10. Wasn't really obvious. What I would like is if you get a building that benefits them and adjust this in some way, this should enlarge, slide over to the center, and it should go tick, 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 and then slide back over there. That would bring it straight into the forefront so that when you place a building or you finish off like a civic project, you don't miss out on exactly what happened. Because I find myself like staring at this up here while I have my mouse over here while I click to make sure. Or you could just solve the whole thing by if I click on this building, it should tell me what it does. That would also be another fundamental workaround that would work pretty well right there. We do have a ministry. Let's do the ministry like so, I suppose. We have 2 stores over here. I can do an elbow of stores right here pretty easily. So we'll try to do that. We've got an event coming up on the next placement, and we don't know exactly what it's going to be. I'm going to need more elbows. I think we're building all in elbows right now. I don't think we really have any other options. The government hit level 2. All right, so there are proposals to rebuild the city according to the modern needs of citizens. What should we start with? Walking areas, bicycle paths, order in the lower city, reject the proposals. Let's go with order in the lower city. The lower city is a place for the poorest layers of society. There are so many problems there that nobody wants to deal with them. Well, now the time has come. So public expenses and also actually government expenses have gone down. So that's really good for us because those were kind of on a runaway. If we can find a way to get our elite faction evened on out, we're going to be in really good shape here because I'm tired of building in elbow joints. We don't have, I like to, the way that I balance this out in my head is I try to be like, do I have 3 weeks of finances left for every faction? And if I do, I'm happy. If I don't, I'm unhappy. And so we need to get this up to 420 for sure, but they didn't really give us anything to do that with. However, I can get a free... That's a double placement right there. Okay, let's do it and get the upgrade. The upgrade is going to give us free resources on the first go. Sometimes it gives you buildings. Sometimes it'll give you like multi-placement tiles so that you can lay down like 3 out of 4 by yourself automatically. We'll bump that up because I said that our goal was to try to get up to 3 weeks of elite faction bonuses remaining. And then over here, I can also build in an elbow without too many problems. Costs are going to go up. Things have gotten worse, as they tend to. A famous art critic announced a fine art contest among the common people. Man, they're really pounding us with elite expenses right now. We're getting mashed on elite expenses at the moment. I've got a double placement ministry over here. Is there anything else I could finish off with that? If I put it like this, it'll guarantee an elbow for the elites. And that at least gets us 2 weeks. Government and public expenses can go down right there. Give me plus 20 to everybody. I didn't even think that my request could be fulfilled. Thank you. You know, I'm keen on programming a little. Please take this as a token of gratitude. It may help you. Goodbye. I don't know what she just gave me. She just gave me something. Like I said, the game needs to have some kind of like pop-up thing that moves over to the deposit point, basically, for what we just got. I don't know what we just got. We just got something for that. She gave me a quest on the last map to put down 8 stores, and it wasn't... Oh, maybe I haven't even opened it yet. Maybe it's that thing right there. Either way, that thing, it should have come up into the center of the screen, like wiggled a little bit, and then gone over to the side. in sort of rapid fashion so as not to disturb the flow of gameplay. That way it catches your eye and moves it on over there, but I think that's what we're looking at. A strike at a large enterprise. Workers are demanding a shorter working day. Yeah, I'll support them. Elite expenses got worse, business got worse, public expenses got better. Okay, it gives us breathing room at least. Oh, no, that's the options. What's the gift? Well, it says open the gift, but I don't see anything that actually is the gift, unfortunately. Ugh, if our businesses are all out of whack right now, I'm going to have to do something about this. All right, put stores right there. What does this do? Reduces elite and business expenses. Let's do that. Oh, there's the gift right there. Data transfer request approved. Installing external packages. Connecting remote control. Changing decision-making modules. Success. I guess it just added a whole bunch of goodies to my pack right there. All right. A virus. Hold out for 10 turns. Well, that's not good. Fire in the upper city. The fire is spreading to the aristocrats' villas. Not ideal. Not ideal. I gotta play that even though I don't want to. We'll cap that off right there to help out some with elite expenses. But we may be in trouble here. This may be the end of our run. Reduces government and elite expenses by 10. Yeah, I could probably use that. And then we've got another one pounding on the elites. Apparently there's a filming of a new romantic drama starring Baroness Krause. We'll do that. That got us there. We're going to survive another week, which is all you can ask for unless something crazy happens. We can put in a pretty major Civic installation here. It'll give us plus 80 to their faction right there, which is like, what can you do? Go ahead and give me double skyscrapers. Level 2 public power. Squatters have seized a luxury house when the owners went on vacation. The owners are outraged. Okay, arrest the violators. Elite expenses just got better by 30. Public expenses got worse by 3. And then government gained power. I can live with that. That's okay. That actually may have saved us a little bit. We have a lot of double store tiles right now. Oh, but it's got a park on one side? Ooh. I mean, at least that's giving me plus 20, I guess. So that's already connected. Where do I want to put this? That's not connected to anything. And then if I do something like that right there, that gives us the elbow. We're almost at 2 weeks for the elites. Almost. Almost. We'll place that there. I didn't get my bonus for the park. I didn't see the 20s go up, man. Iris, what's going on? Everything is fine? Are you okay? Let's do some diagnostics. It looks like you've been hacked. 1 minute, I'll fix it. Done. I removed the virus, but it's a matter of time before another attack. We need to think about who could have done this. The hacker was clearly working on the interests of big business. Let's talk to their leader. Oh, things are bad right now. Things are real, real bad. Okay, so I can get a T block over here. Alan Richardson announced the development of a new social network for elites only. This facilitates communication between the nobles of all levels without interference from their population segments. Business got worse, elite got better. Okay. I need to get some resources for the government, though. The government's kind of struggling right now. Government is actively falling apart. But look at this huge city that we've built, dude. They just need to have variations, I think, like in the way that things interact and whatnot, and then I think they'll be off to the races, dude. This is a very fascinating little game. I don't know that I've ever played anything quite like it, where it's sort of like top-down Tetris with aspects of Reigns in there, with aspects of like a dystopian city builder in there, with aspects of a roguelite. There's a lot of genres moving on into this thing, so I think if they can get it polished up, this game is going to be pretty fun. It's addictive, and I dislike games like this, and it's already got me hooked. And so I'm sort of digging what they've got going on right here. I can get some more government funding right there, which I think is a good start. People filed a complaint about dilapidated housing. The house is too old and may collapse if nothing is done. What should we do? I think we're hosed either way. The building is repaired, but the residents are complaining about the disgusting quality of the repair works, even though the repairs were completed perfectly according to the documents. Okay. We're not in a perfect situation right now. I think we could be in a much better situation. I think we're hosed at the end of this turn. We've got 3 deficits that all need to be solved, and I don't think I have the things on hand to do it. Like, I can fix... If I can just get a little bit more government funding, we'll be okay. Do I have any, like, government double taps I can do around here? I do. There's one right there. Okay, so we fixed government, but I don't have the things in hand right now to fix public policy, unfortunately. So I think we're a little bit bonerinoed right there, unless I can come up with a very quick plan to solve this. And it doesn't look like I have one. And that's the game over. They also need to have more fanfare when the game is over. Depending on who fails, there should be like, the revolution is now. So we failed the public sector, so it should be like basically Bolsheviks. They should just be like, the revolution is now. There should be a pop-up with like a little guy with a Molotov, and like the city should catch fire, and you should hear the sounds of shouting and running. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Now, at the end of every game, there's going to be storyline exposition right here. And they're going to let you know what happened when you failed the simulation effectively. And then it's going to let you know how much storyline progress you've made by interacting with various people and completing their quest towards getting to the next part. It's going to tell you every event that you went through right there. And then on top of that, it's going to tabulate all of the resources that you generated for the various factions over the course of the last run, and it's going to give you bonuses for your next run. So we started out with 25 more resources at the beginning of the game. Sometimes it's buildings that can come up in the draft, so on and so forth, and then it doesn't take you back to the main menu, it just plops you into another game, which I think is good. So this is Technotopia. A rough gem right now, but I definitely think they could turn this into something special. Anytime a game changes my mind about a genre that I particularly don't personally like, this game has a lot of them. So it's got like card game aspects to it. It's got city stamping to it. There's a number of things here that are usually automatic no's from me as far as video games go, but I found this one to be fairly entertaining. It can use a little bit more sound effects, like when you place buildings, you know, there should be the sound of construction and things going like, you know, like people riveting and things of that nature, and the sounds of hammers and clanks. When you place, you know, stores, you should hear like a bing boom, like when you walk through the front of like a, you know, 2 or 3 different sound effects, like when you walk into the front door of a Valero with the ministry. There should be the sounds of like papers being shuffled around and kind of dress shoes walking on floors and things like that. There's lots of little things they can do to amplify this game's audio-visual presence, but I still like the core gameplay. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today it was Technotopia. Tomorrow it'll be something else. Thanks for hanging out with me, and that's about all I've got for you. Bye, folks.